Jennifer Mee. 15-year-old Jennifer Mee was an anonymous teenager from a typical American family in Florida. But she was to become an internationally famous media sensation across America because of her non-stop hiccups. Suddenly, the hiccups stopped and the fame vanished. Mee was implicated in the murder of 22-year-old Shannon Griffin, all because she lured him into an alleyway where he was shot by one of her pals. Although she did not pull the trigger, under Florida law, she is just as culpable for the murder shooter. She had invited Griffin to an abandoned spot under the pretense of selling him cannabis. Once there, two of her pals robbed him at gunpoint, but there was a struggle and the gun went off. During her trial, the court heard how a taped phone call between Mee and her mom, which directly implicated her in the murder. Mee was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Her co-defendants, LaRon Ryford and Lamont Newton, were also convicted of first-degree felony murder and sentenced to life in prison. She can be seen crying in court during her sentencing. Samantha Grigg. This is Samantha Grigg. Grigg was an aspiring singer who performed with her band, Undecided, at the Ann Arbor Summer Music Festival. Grigg testified in Clinton County Circuit Court that she, Breeder Nitz, and Haim traveled to East Lansing with plans to beat up and rob Froka, although she didn't say how they knew him. Grigg told the court that she drove Froka to several ATMs before the others started beating him. Froka died because of several injuries. Grigg, 18, pleaded guilty to charges of manslaughter and unarmed robbery in Clinton County trial court. Grigg was sentenced up to 15 years behind bars. Keandria Cook. This is Keandria Cook. 14-year-old Keandria Cook used a dating app to lure Perry Nita, who invited Emmanuel Purcell. Cook's then-boyfriend, Kendrick Bass, is accused of shooting Purcell during a carjacking. He survived the shooting, but she was sentenced for 20 years in prison. The video of Keandria's meltdown saw her wailing to hold her mom one last time before being jailed, only for courtroom guards to take her into immediate custody.
Taylor Smith. A teenager who pleaded guilty to pushing her younger friend off a 60-foot bridge in Washington was sentenced to 2 days in jail. Taylor Smith, 19, was also ordered to spend 38 days on a work crew after pleading guilty earlier this month to reckless endangerment for shoving Jordan Holgerson, 17, off a bridge in Moulton Falls Regional Park on August 7th. A 10-second video clip of the incident captured on a cell phone went viral. Smith must also pay a fine of $300 and have no contact with Holgerson for 2 years. Holgerson suffered 6 broken ribs and punctured lungs. Clark County District Court Judge Darvin Zimmerman noted the severity of Holgerson's injuries before delivering Smith's sentence. Before sentencing Smith, the judge heard from Holgerson, her mother, and the defendant. Holgerson was so emotional that she had a victim's advocate read her statement. Her mother, Janelle Holgerson, told the judge she believed Smith acted intentionally and should serve as many days in jail as her daughter spent in the hospital after the incident, a total of 3 days. Smith apologized to Holgerson in court Wednesday and said she has grown as a person and learned to think before she acts. Smith was led away in handcuffs following the sentence. Erica Stefanko. The woman who was found guilty by a jury in the 2012 murder of an Army veteran faced a judge for sentencing. Erica Stefanko, 38, was sentenced to life in prison for her role in the murder of Ashley Biggs. She will be eligible for parole after serving 30 years. Stefanko, along with several family members of the victim and the convicted, spoke during the sentencing. Stefanko, a mother of 4 children, was convicted in November 2020 of killing the 25-year-old Biggs in 2012. At the time of the murder, Stefanko was married to Chad Cobb, who was in a custody battle with Biggs over their daughter. Biggs worked then as a pizza delivery driver. She was lured to a closed business in New Franklin in June 2012, where she was assaulted and strangled to death. Stefanko and Cobb then dumped Biggs' body in a Wayne County field before they returned home and washed off evidence of the crime. Biggs' body was found the following day. Law enforcement officers located Cobb hiding in a nearby wooded area and arrested him shortly after. Ashley Biggs' daughter also made her voice heard. Her scathing remarks brought Stefanko to tears. Cobb pleaded guilty in the case in 2013 and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility for parole. Stefanko was arrested in November 2019 for her involvement in Biggs' murder and indicted on numerous charges, which initially included aggravated murder, kidnapping, and aggravated robbery. Isabella Guzman. In August 2013, Isabella Guzman brutally murdered her mother Yun Mihoy inside their Colorado home, then became famous online for her bizarre attitude in the courtroom. Guzman was just 18 years old when she brutally murdered her mom. Her family was stunned. She'd had behavioral issues even as a child, but loved ones described her as sweet and good-hearted. At the time of her arrest, Guzman pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Her doctors found she suffered from schizophrenia, and a judge ordered that she remain in a mental health institution until she was no longer a threat to herself or others. After 7 years of hospitalization, Guzman claimed her schizophrenia was under control and petitioned to be released from the institution. At the same time, footage from her 2013 court hearing resurfaced and started making the rounds on TikTok, gaining her a confounding fan base. By the time police arrived, Isabella Guzman had already fled the scene. They quickly launched a manhunt, informing the public that Guzman was armed and dangerous. Officers found her in a nearby parking garage the next afternoon. On the day of her arraignment hearing on September 5, 2013, Guzman had to be dragged out of her cell. And when she finally got to the courtroom, she made a series of bizarre faces at the camera, smirking and pointing at her eyes. Samantha Davis. Samantha Davis was found guilty in 2019 in the deaths of two people who were crushed when Davis's pickup ramped an overpass and landed on their car as they drove south on Interstate 71. Davis was serving an 8-year prison sentence when the First District Court of Appeals in May 2021 threw out the convictions, finding that she was deprived of effective assistance of counsel. Davis's attorney then filed a motion for a bond hearing so she could be released from prison while she waited for a new trial. Davis was driving to her job as a server at a Sharonville restaurant. According to testimony, she was speeding in a 1995 Dodge Ram that had an underinflated rear tire she had tried to repair herself. As she drove on the overpass leading from northbound Interstate 71 to Interstate 275 west, she lost control. An Ohio State Highway Patrol trooper who happened to be driving on the same ramp said the pickup drove directly into the concrete barrier and went over it. The pickup landed on a car, crushing it and killing a mother and daughter who were driving to the University of Cincinnati's graduation ceremonies.
That was it for today's video. We hope you like it. If you want to see more interesting videos, then make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button,